Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc.
Waiver agreement with Jamaica. Our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Friday, June 21st. From the CMC News Center in Bridgetown, I'm Dawn Paris. Good evening. The announcement by Ghana's president that a visa waiver agreement with Jamaica is set to go into effect in just over a week has caused a political controversy in the African nation. Minorities opposition spokesman on foreign affairs Samuel Ablakwa has accused President Nana Akufo-Addo of breaching the country's constitution by assuring the visa waiver would be granted even before receiving the necessary ratification of the parliament. It was during a two-day visit to Jamaica last weekend, part of his official trip to the Caribbean, that the Ghanaian president announced that the two countries had agreed to a mutual visa waiver agreement which would take effect on July 1st. Under the agreement, Ghanaians and Jamaicans would be able to travel to and from each other's country without a visa. But the opposition spokesperson says the announcement was inappropriate and unconstitutional. Ablakwa said in a statement that the Parliament would have to ratify such an agreement before it could take effect, and the President's failure to acknowledge that suggested that he was either usurping the authority of Parliament or that the Parliament was a mere rubber stamp ready to do his bidding by ratifying whatever agreement is presented to the House. He noted that similar visa agreements for diplomatic and service passport holders with Colombia, Hungary, India and Chile signed several months ago, some under the former president, are still going through the motions in Parliament. But in response, the government on Friday rubbished Ablakwa's allegations against the president. The chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee in Parliament said plans were already advanced to have the visa waiver agreement with Jamaica laid before the House in time for it to take effect. Eyewitness News in Ghana reported him as saying the president had written to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and details of the agreement were being worked on and should be completed within a day or two. He said, quote, "The agreement will head to Parliament as the Constitution stipulates for it to be ratified. The president will not disrespect the Constitution," end quote. But Ablakwa was adamant that President Akufo-Addo ought not to proceed as though Parliament is a rubber stamp. He cautioned that it was possible the agreement could be rejected by Parliament since ratification is not automatic. Over in Guyana, the man who last December voted against the coalition government of which he was part, allowing a no-confidence motion against it to pass, is feeling vindicated by the Caribbean Court of Justice ruling that the vote was valid. Shandas Prasad says he's happy his vote to remove the David Granger-led government was not wasted, and he has vowed to return to Guyana. Newsroom Guyana's Neil Marks reports.
Hours after he voted to remove the coalition government, for which he served as a member of parliament for 4 years, Chandas Prasad took flight to Canada, where he has citizenship. With the Caribbean Court of Justice, the CCJ, upholding the vote after a prolonged legal battle, Chandas Prasad from Betsegrang on the Corentyne coast plans to return home.
I have done no wrong, and so as soon as I can get money to come back, I am coming back to Guyana. They have nothing on me. I don't do any wrong. I'll say this publicly. The only wrong they can ever get me for from now until I die is speeding, as long as I'm driving.
Prasad's vote caused the collapse of the government and angered tens of thousands. He was labelled a Judas for betraying his own government, and there were yet allegations that he was paid for his vote. but he is not afraid of any of the risks associated with his returning home.
Someday, I am enjoying time with my grandsons right now. Wonderful two little boys. I will have to leave them at some point in time. If it's tomorrow when I come to Guyana or next week when I come to Guyana, so be it. I can't be afraid. I was never afraid. That night I was prepared to die, you know.
With the CCJ ruling, which has upheld the passage of the no-confidence vote, Prasad said it is what he wanted.
As it is now, I am happy, and I'm saying very happy, that my effort to remove the government was not wasted away. The government has been removed, and they must be removed because the court has so ordered.
A main argument during the lengthy court battle was whether Mr. Prasad's vote should have been counted because it went completely against the wishes of the coalition. The judges of the CCJ dismissed that argument. Mr. Prasad was under no obligation to vote with his party. President of the court, Justice Adrian Saunders, stated that loyalty to one's party cannot override sworn allegiance to the Constitution and to the people of Guyana. Members of Parliament, he said, should they so decide, and as long as they are willing to pay the political price, are not to be denied the freedom to vote according to the dictates of their conscience, even in a proportional representation system.
The deaths of two Bahamians whose bodies were pulled from a river in the Italian city of Turin earlier this month have been ruled an accident. According to the final autopsy reports issued by the Italian authorities, 29-year-old Foreign Service officer Alray Ramsey and 28-year-old psychology PhD student Blair John drowned on May 30th, and there was no evidence of foul play. It was found that both men had alcohol in their systems, but toxicology reports indicated the levels were not high enough to make them drunk. Ramsey's body was pulled from the river on June 4th and John's a day later. The two men were friends from college and had met up in Turin. Investigators suggested it was possible one of the men slipped or jumped into the water and the other went in to help him, and both perished. But Italian authorities said analysis is still ongoing to confirm additional details about the drowning. Both bodies have been cleared by international authorities to be repatriated to the Bahamas, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs confirmed that a Foreign Service officer is in Turin working assiduously with funeral homes there and in Nassau to have the bodies flown home as quickly as possible. A trade union leader in Trinidad says Venezuelan migrants there may soon be given the opportunity to be employed through agencies as the government seeks to amend the Recruiting of Workers Act. President of the National Trade Union Center, Watson Duke, made the announcement at a Labor Day rally on Thursday. He charged that government has failed to amend several pieces of legislation to ensure the protection of workers' rights, and he accused it of moving to amend the Recruitment of Workers Act to ensure that they can bring in Venezuelans to work at peppercorn rates. The Newsday newspaper quoted Duke, who is also president of the Public Services Association, as saying that migrant workers are being exploited, and he called on workers to stand up and fight back. Over in Bermuda, a man has been ordered to undergo a psychological assessment after being found guilty of sending threatening emails to Premier David Burt and his family. 29-year-old Jared Gordon was due to be sentenced in the Supreme Court on Thursday, where the judge ordered the evaluation report before deciding on his punishment. We get the details in this report from the Bermuda Broadcasting Company.
3 months after a landslide general election win, Progressive Labour Party leader and Premier David Burt received threatening emails from an account belonging to Jared Gordon on the 13th of October 2017. It read, quote, "Ignoring me, asking for a budget, is driving me to a point of wanting to tell you this to your face. I would really put a hole in your head." Prosecutor Karen King-Dean says Premier Burt became fearful for his life and made copies of the messages. A month later, Premier Burt was in the UK on official business, hosting networking, reception, and other duties, when he received a second threatening email, which prosecutors said caused him further concern. That following March, a third email was received. This time, Gordon sent death threats to Mr. Burt's wife and 2 children, and then threatened to chop off his head. The alarm was raised, and a year later, on May 5th, Gordon was arrested. at Elliott Wade International Airport for the offenses. Prosecutors told the court the defendant is solely to blame for the offenses, calling it a campaign of abuse. When the messages went unanswered, she says Gordon went to great lengths to get the premier's attention by even threatening his family, causing the premier to believe the violence would be carried out. The Crown argued for an immediate custodial sentence of 2 to 4 years behind bars. Defense lawyer Simone Smith-Bean says a suspended prison sentence would be more appropriate in this case. She told the court her client was living at a homeless shelter when the emails were sent. Gordon, she says, was not in the right state of mind at the time, and the purpose of the messages was to get the premier's attention.
Still to come in Caribbean Newsline, a call for teens who deliberately go missing in Grenada to be punished. We'll be right back.
Welcome to this year's 50th Caribbean Broadcast Union Assembly on the island of San Andres. San Andres is a small archipelago located in between Jamaica and Panama in the western Caribbean Sea. A lush, exotic island rich in culture, history, gastronomy, and breathtaking scenic views. Known for its beaches and 7-colored crystalline waters, the island of San Andres will be proudly hosting this year's event. CBU members will enjoy top-of-the-line accommodations for an unforgettable experience in San Andres, connecting Caribbean nations through this year's 50th edition of the CBU Assembly.
Now, back in, I think it was September, this case goes back a way, September of 1994. Right. She was on her way to church.
That's correct. And I need to mention, Steve, you know, she was a brilliant girl.
And she was in this church bus, and there it was her and her 2 sisters.
Correct. And they were the only ones left in the bus. The accident happened probably less than a quarter mile from their house.
There's a call in Grenada for policies to be put in place and penalties implemented to punish teens who deliberately go missing. The call has come from the deputy political leader of the Grenada Empowerment Movement, Rosemary Rajwant, who says the action from these teens result in a waste of state resources. We get more in this GBN News report.
With the proliferation of human trafficking worldwide and increased reports of sexual abuse locally, law enforcement wastes no time in addressing missing persons reports. However, Deputy Political Leader of the Grenada Empowerment Movement, Rosemary Rajwant, tells GBN the intentional disappearance of teen girls is a growing trend that leads to a waste of resources.
It is a growing problem, and it definitely needs to be addressed in terms of, state resources that go into finding persons as opposed to resources that could be used for more serious matters. It's obvious that enough isn't being done by the policymakers and the persons entrusted with ensuring the safety and well-being of children. What needs to be understood by society is the fact that resources are used to go and find the teenager who would have intentionally left home. And these are resources that we pay for as taxpayers,
Rajwant insists that the homes of missing teens should be investigated as a possible root cause of the disappearance. In cases where the disappearance is deliberate, she believes consideration should be given to penalties for the teens and those aiding and abetting the delinquent behavior.
Definitely predators in society that encourage or lure teenage girls into leaving their homes temporarily. I do believe that counseling is necessary. We need to have the persons responsible for looking into the well-being of children sit with the families and the teenagers involved to address the problem, see what's causing it, and of course to put into place measures that would prevent it from reoccurring. I do think that the teenagers who disappear from home should be made to face consequences, whether it be community service. I definitely don't think they should be in prison, but I do believe that they themselves should be made to understand that they're essentially engaging in potentially criminal and harmful behavior.
Well, it's time for Newsline Entertainment, and St. Lucia prepares for this year's Roots and Soul Festival. Buju Banton is to kick off the European leg of his Long Walk to Freedom tour, and Barbados loses a celebrated artiste. The details from Mary Claire Williams.
St. Lucia has announced an expanded lineup for the 3rd annual Roots and Soul Festival. Reggae artists UB40, Taurus Riley, as well as British singer-songwriter Estelle and the R&B stars Genuine and Maya are among the international performers. The August 23 to 25 event is part of the St. Lucia Summer Festival and will also form part of the celebration of the island's 40th independence anniversary. Buju Banton is preparing to kick off the European leg of his Long Walk to Freedom tour later this month. After a successful tour of several Caribbean countries, he is due to perform in Amsterdam, Switzerland, and France, among others. This week, Barbados lost the celebrated dancer Richelle Springer. She died in Paris after a brief illness. Springer was a dance delegate for the Cultural Affairs Ministry of Barbados and the artistic directress of the Barbados Dance Theatre Company. She later created her own company, Dance Experience. Springer also taught ballet and other forms of dance in the UK, France, Belgium, and Holland. Her goddaughter, Prime Minister Mia Mottley, paid tribute to her earlier this week.
For many a young Barbadian for decades, Richelle inspired them to believe that they could make a living from dancing, when at a time nobody believed that you made a living from music or dance or the arts, period. But she led the way in allowing us to know that we could be the best of who we want to be, depending on what we chose to be, so long as we did it with passion and with discipline. All who knew Richelle know that she did everything that she did with a gentility of spirit and with a belief in people.
Mary Claire Williams, Newsline Entertainment.
Ahead in Newsline Sport, West Indies hoping to avoid elimination from the ICC World Cup. Stay with us.
They don't know say article. And with up on the block I go all our vibes, you know the thing go no sleep rhythm, some are banging, you know that go. Risky business. Boop. Article is a youth way, spiritual. Most of my friends them know me from them know me, them know article being a good youth, one aim, one goal. You see me?
Salt, sugar. That's it. And then you leave this right.
So I just grated the chocolate and it smells absolutely amazing. and just add your chocolate. So I'm just going to go ahead and add the bay leaves, the dash of salt, the nutmeg and the cinnamon. So just leave this to come up to a nice boil. So I'm going to let this simmer and I'll come back and show you guys what it looks like.
West Indies are hoping frank discussions will trigger the turnaround in form necessary to upset unbeaten New Zealand in Saturday's critical encounter at Old Trafford and keep alive their fading hopes of reaching the semi-finals of the ICC World Cup. The Caribbean side has managed only a single win in 5 outings, and with just 3 points in their column and 4 games left in their campaign, a positive result against New Zealand has now become imperative if they are to avoid early elimination. Captain Jason Holder told reporters on Friday the significance of the contest was not lost on the team. He said they were focusing on improving their execution following their last defeat against Bangladesh on Monday.
I think we're still in with a possible chance of qualifying for the semi-finals, but we've just got to take it game by game. This encounter against New Zealand is very, very important. We all know what's at stake, and we've just got to come and bring our A game. It's as simple as that. No, I just don't think it's a situation where you've had to be tough. We've had a few frank discussions within the dressing room as to find ways in which we can improve, and I think all teams would get themselves in that situation at some point. But yeah, we've had some pretty good discussions over the last couple of days, and tomorrow's just the day to deliver.
The team was criticized by several great former West Indies players earlier this week for their one-dimensional approach. Holder acknowledged that his side needs to be more adaptable in responding to game situations.
Situation where we've just got to play smarter cricket. We've just got to seize the crucial moments in each game. I don't think we've done that well enough here in this tournament so far, and I don't think the ground pretty much would hamper us thinking it through a little bit better. We've just got to be a little bit clear as to our plans. Make sure that we're making adjustments on any given day if our plan A doesn't it doesn't work.
Staying with cricket, fast bowler Lasith Malinga's 4-wicket haul has kept Sri Lanka's hopes alive after they stunned host England by 20 runs in their clash in the World Cup on Friday. Opting to bat, Sri Lanka managed a modest 232 for 9, riding on an unbeaten 115-ball 85 by Angelo Matthews. Jofra Archer had earlier continued his good form, taking 3 wickets for the 5th time in 6 games. Set 233 to win, England was undone by the Sri Lankan veterans as they crashed to 212 all out. Malinga picked up 4 for 43, while off-spinner Danan Jaya De Silva cleaned up the tail end, picking up 3 wickets for 32 runs.
Oh, close. Bairstow trying to work across a straight ball, and the finger goes up. Oh, lovely. Lovely from James Vince. It's taken a while to find the middle of the bat. Taken, yeah, good from Malinga. He wasn't put off by the fact that he'd been hit for 2 boundaries earlier in the over.
It's a lovely shot, just punched down the ground. It's a good battle between Malinga and Root.
On quite fine, and it's short down there and will run away for 4. Oh, what a catch. Brilliant reflex catch. A low full toss which Morgan has pounded back towards the bowler. He's taken a stunner.
And that'll be the 50. On his home ground, Joe Root here at Headingley. Well, here goes Ben Stokes. And that is how he can. Well, he just sat back for that. Ben Stokes.
Humility can also mean that, oh, there's an appeal, and they're going to review this.
And the ball is on the bat, and I have a spike. Brady, you have to overturn your decision.
What a moment this is in the game. Huge shout, the finger goes up. It's Butler, the key wicket of Joss Butler.
And he goes onside, there's a man there. There's too much on the ball. And that will be a 6. Oh, here we go again. Danger though. Oh, Moeen has holed out. Oh, and the thin edge. Third man's too wide. 4 runs and England need that. That's the 50th for Ben Stokes. Oh, and that's why. And he's gone. Jubilation for Sri Lanka. Oh, it's another one. What a game Pereira's having behind the stumps.
It's gone on to long on. This should be taken. Yep, it is. 9 down. Another slower ball from Udana. Leg side. Will it carry? No. Been put down out there. Malinga's down on his knees. And everything must go. That goes towards long on. It goes over long on. 6. Oh, is it Nick? He's nicked it. He has nicked it. What a win for Sri Lanka. What a comeback from Sri Lanka. What fight from Sri Lanka. And boy, do they celebrate.
An ordinary batting innings followed up by a magnificent performance with the ball.
And Cricket West Indies has underscored the value of its under-15 program after naming a 14-member squad to tour England in August. The tour, which runs from August 8th to 18th, marks the 4th straight year a West Indies under-15 side will be involved in the series. And high-performance coach Graham West said the move was a critical one in the regional development process. 2 captains have been named to lead the squad, left-arm spinners Andrew Rambaran and Nathan Seeley, with former Leeward Islands batsman Steve Liebert named as head coach and manager. The squad is scheduled to play 4 50-over matches for 2020s and a 25-over match on the tour. That's the sport. We'll be right back.
Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc.
Welcome to this year's 50th Caribbean Broadcast Union Assembly on the island of San Andres. San Andres is a small archipelago located in between Jamaica and Panama in the Western Caribbean Sea. A lush, exotic island rich in culture, history, gastronomy, and breathtaking scenic views. Known for its beaches and 7-colored crystalline waters, the island of San Andres will be proudly hosting this year's event. CBU members will enjoy top-of-the-line accommodations for an unforgettable experience in San Andres, connecting Caribbean nations through this year's 50th edition of the CBU Assembly.
You're watching Caribbean Vibrations TV, and we are here with the one and only legendary Coco T. How are you doing today, sir?
Yeah, give thanks to being here, you know.
First of all, thank you for spending some time with us.
Yes.
Now, you are a veteran in the game, you understand?
Yes.
Enough respect to you.
Yes.
How important was it when Bujo called you and said, hey, yo, I want you to be here tonight?
Well, it is a no-brainer. And this man has been such great friends and family for so long.
Again, the major developments of this day: controversy over Ghana's announced visa waiver agreement with Jamaica, as the opposition in the African nation says it has not been ratified by Parliament as required under the Constitution. And in sport, the Windies prepare for their weekend World Cup match against New Zealand, hoping to avoid elimination from the tournament. And that's Caribbean Newsline. For news and sport around the clock, subscribe to CanonNews.com, and for more of our programming, log on to CaribVision.tv and check out our YouTube channel. We'll be back here on Monday, but from all of us at CNC News, thank you for watching and have yourselves a good night and a safe weekend.